land that God's giving you. You know, in the place where God desires to put you, to place you, to plant you, if you will, for it to go well with you to follow God's instructions. And we understand that we fulfill this by honoring parents. You know, the flip side is also addressed to this. In the Scripture, rebellious children, that is, children who consistently rebelled and absolutely refused. They were recalcitrant and just absolutely would not submit. And Deuteronomy chapter 21 could be brought before the elders and executed. Well, that's rather severe. You think about how important it was, not only for the family, but for the community and for the nation, for certain things to be true, that God allowed for that. In Deuteronomy 21, that cursing or striking a parent was also a death penalty offense. In Exodus 21, though none of those are recorded in Scripture, it shows the importance and the seriousness that God, when He laid out these 10 commandments, He had something very serious and important in mind for His people. To honor your father and mother so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you. And that's the way God's people operated. Jacob, for instance, he obeyed his father and mother, it says in Genesis 28:7. He obeyed them. He followed what they said to do. His mother played a very significant role in his life. And it led, his honoring his father and mother led to his own great family and legacy as God blessed that. He was well off. There was spiritual health and eventually spiritual maturity and growth in his life. But it started in the way that he honored his parents. Proverbs 1:8 says, "Listen to your father's teaching and don't neglect your mother's teaching." In other words, once again, we see in Scripture that God honors the father, that God honors the mother, that God honors those who honor Him. Listen to your father's teaching and don't neglect your mother's teaching. Equal respect. That's important. That it may not be true in the Middle Eastern culture today, but it certainly was true in the Hebrew culture among God's people, that moms had a very important place. Now, the other side of this is that parents were to be godly role models, showing what it means to depend on God. Our relationship with our parents, after all, is a smaller picture of our relationship and what it means to depend on the Lord. Our relationship with our parents, are they out there? Mm-hmm. Our relationship with our parents is a smaller picture of our relationship and what it means to depend on the Lord. That our parents affect our understanding of God maybe more than anyone else can. A lot of influences out there, certainly don't neglect that, but their parents have a very key role there. And our parents are to therefore be godly role models for us. The family life is healthy when we all choose the Lord's design, which includes Exodus 20 verse 12, honoring father and mother. The word honor is a Hebrew word, kaved. It means heavy. Something heavy. You might think, well, how does honor and heavy go together? How do we get a Hebrew word meaning heavy and translate that into English meaning honor? Heavy, I said weight, giving weight to something. You give weight to something that's important. You give priority and attention and respect to someone who is important. It is something valuable. Could be another word for it, because a lot of times in the ancient world, particularly their money systems, what weighed more was more valuable. For instance, gold being so heavy, gold had value, and so something that was heavy had value, and so it's telling us to value who our parents are. And to understand that we do that through all of our lives to take care of our parents. The roles change, don't they? You know, we start off, they're wiping our nose, and then we're growing up and they're teaching us how to drive, and then we grow up a little bit further, and then we're coming back to them for advice because, you know, after all, when we were teenagers, we thought we knew it all, but then we came into our 20s and discovered, hey, you know, they really smartened up quite a bit. So then we're coming back to our parents for advice, and then as they get older, you know, we start to step in and help out with things. And maybe, depending on longevity, maybe we're stepping in and being the caregiver. Things change. And so what it means to honor at different stages of our lives may look differently, but to honor, to value that relationship. After all, R.W. Dale said, there's one thing that's true about this fifth commandment that is not true about the other 9. For many of us, at least, there may come a time when we cannot obey this commandment except to honor their memory. So we use the time that we have to value and to express that and to show how much we love those that we call mom and dad, because that's, God has placed them in our lives. Colossians takes this a step further and it says, obey the Lord, and certainly has in mind there legitimately what God would have persons to do, to obey the Lord, because obeying parents teaches us how to respond to authority.